Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Andy with a special episode of UFOs and other paranormal stuff. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's very rare that I do a special episode of this kind, and that is because there has been some big UFO news within the last few days. And when I mean big UFO news, I don't just mean one or two little bits, I mean there's been about 4 so far. Let's have a look at what has been going on. It all started from January the 28th to February the 4th, 2003, when a Chinese-operated high-altitude balloon was seen crossing over North American airspace, including Alaska, West Canada and the continent of the USA, basically. On the 4th of February, the US Air Force shot the balloon down over the US territorial waters just off the coast of South Carolina, on the order of the US President Joe Biden. Debris from the wreckage was recovered and sent to the FBI laboratory in Quantico, Virginia for analysis. It was very soon sort of understood by the rest of the world that this was not the only Chinese balloon that was in the American area. There was also another one. On the 3rd of February, the US Department of Defense stated that a second Chinese surveillance balloon had been detected, this one flying over Latin America. The Costa Rican General Directorate of Civil Aviation confirmed the incursion by an object not of Costa Rican origin that locals had first seen on the 2nd of February, the day before, obviously. The Colombian Air Force said that on the morning of February the 3rd, it had detected an object with characteristics similar to those of a balloon at a height of 55,000 feet, that's 17,000 metres, and travelling at a speed of 25 knots, which is about 29 miles per hour to you and me. And after determining that it was not a threat to national security and defence to air safety, had continued to track it until it left Colombian airspace. Sightings of the balloon were also reported from Venezuela, specifically from Maracaibo. On the 6th of February 2023, Miao Ning, the spokeswoman for Chinese government, confirmed the balloon belongs to China but said that it was being used for flight tests, and it was blown off course in much in the same manner as the one spotted over America. That's quite a long way to go off course, by the way. It sailed over the whole Pacific Ocean to Latin America and to North America. Make your own mind up about that. Now here's where it gets more interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because it says on Wikipedia, on February the 10th, another high-altitude object was shot down in the vicinity of Dead Horse, Alaska, over the Beaufort Sea. Recovery efforts by the Alaskan National Guard on the sea ice are ongoing. On the 11th of February, that was just 2 days ago, on previous orders of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, a small cylindrical object was shot down over the Yukon Territory for violating Canadian airspace. The US and the Canadian aircraft had scrambled, and US F-22 jet fighter made the kill. On the 12th of February, the US military shot down a 4th unidentified object over Lake Huron within the maritime territory of Michigan. Now, these are strange. I mean, you look into it and, yeah, the balloon, the Chinese have said it's the balloon, but what about these high altitude objects that have been flying about? What is going on there? But also, it's the language that the news companies are using. Reuters have used the term UFOs. Let me try and find it now. One of Reuters' headlines the other day reads, US fighter shoots down UFO over Canada, Trudeau says. That particular news story has been slightly changed. The headline has changed, but it carries on like this. US shoots down unidentified cylindrical object over Canada. Washington, Ottawa. On February the 11th, Reuters. A US F-22 fighter shot down an unidentified cylindrical object over Canada on Saturday, the second such incident in as many days, as North America appeared on the edge following a week-long Chinese spying balloon saga that drew the global spotlight. Separately, the US military also scrambled fighter jets in Montana, again, to investigate a radar anomaly that triggered a brief federal closure of airspace. Those aircraft did not identify any object to correlate with the radar hits, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, otherwise known as NORAD, said in a statement. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau first announced Saturday's shootdown over the northern Yukon Territory, saying Canadian forces would recover and analyse the wreckage. Canadian Defence Minister Anita Anand declined to speculate about the origin of the object, which she said was cylindrical in shape. She stopped short of calling it a balloon, but said it was smaller than the Chinese balloon shot down off the South Carolina's coast a week ago, though similar in appearance. Aloft, at 40,000 feet, 12,200 metres, it posed a risk to civilian air traffic and was shot down at 3:41 EST. There is no reason to believe that the impact of the object in Canada's territory is of any public concern, Anand told a news conference. Both leaders, Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden, have said that they've discussed the importance of recovering the object in order to determine more details on its purpose or origin. The news goes on from Reuters. A day earlier, Biden ordered another shoot-down of an unidentified flying object near Dead Horse in Alaska. On Saturday, the US military remained tight-lipped about what, if anything, it had learned as recovery efforts were underway on the Alaskan sea ice. On Friday, the Pentagon offered only a few details, such as the object was the size of a small car, was flying about 40,000 feet and could not maneuver, and appeared to be unmanned. US officials have been trying to learn about the object since it was first spotted on Thursday. We have no further details at this time about the object, including its capabilities, purpose or origin, Northern Command said on Saturday. A Sky News report that came out at 10:15 this morning, that's only about an hour ago, says this: US on heightened state of alert over flying objects and hasn't ruled out extraterrestrials. There will come a point where the US knows what it's dealing with following a series of shoot-downs of unidentified flying objects, but in the meantime it's taking no chances. In the US political speak, they are fond of the phrase an abundance of caution. It translates into a week of US Top Guns taking to the skies and taking out airborne objects that frankly could be anything. The US doesn't know. But a week of national security whiplash has been triggered by what they say they do know. That object number 1 was a Chinese spy balloon. In a Sunday night news briefing, the US Department of Defense, DoD, spoke of a heightened state of alert. It says it has been more closely scrutinizing US airspace and that radar filters have been tweaked to pick out smaller objects in the sky. We are told that recent objects pose no military threat, and the DoD acknowledged that companies and organizations operate objects at high altitude for research purposes. So how much longer can this shoot-first policy continue? Clearly it will depend on the debris collection and analysis. In closing, Sunday's briefing, DoD top brass opened a door to headline writers and the rest. When asked during the briefing if the airborne subjects could be extraterrestrials, the US Air Force General Glenn Van Herk replied, "I haven't ruled anything out." In a recently updated report from Sky News, and when I mean recently, I mean about 10 minutes ago, it says US jet shoots down fourth flying object after Pentagon says it flew near sensitive military strikes and was a risk to civilian aircraft. The takedown is the fourth in just over a week and the third in as many days after objects were shot down in Alaska and Canada. The Pentagon believes that the latest UFO is the blip that showed up on the radar over Montana on Saturday. The United States has shot down another unidentified object that it says flew near sensitive military sites and could have been used for spying. It was downed over Lake Huron in Michigan at 2:42 local time on Sunday on President Joe Biden's orders. The US F-16 fired a missile at about 20,000 feet amid concerns that its altitude and flight path could endanger civilian planes. It is the fourth incident in just over a week and the third in as many days, after objects were shot down in Alaska and Canada on Friday and Saturday. A senior US official speaking anonymously described the latest objects as having an octagonal structure with strings hanging off, but no discernible payload. On to CNN now, and this updated news from 4:48 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, February 13th, 2023. A trio of new intrusions leaves America's leaders grasping for explanations. It seems to be more of the same, but it is saying a deepening national security mystery is threatening a political storm after US fighter jets scrambled 3 days in a row to shoot down a trio of unidentified aerial objects. You notice how they play around with words. It's no longer UFOs or unidentified aerial phenomena now, it's unidentified aerial objects. High over the North American continent. A flurry of attacks on the unknown crafts came a week after highly public tracking and ultimate downing of a Chinese balloon, suspected of carrying out surveillance. Now the thin details are trickling out of the Pentagon and Capitol Hill about making an already highly unusual international episode even more bizarre and confusing. No one, not the White House, the Pentagon, or the Government of Canada, whose airspace has also been infringed, seems able to say exactly what is going on with the latest downed crafts. This raises questions for top military brass and US spy agencies, as well as the potential safety of civilian aviation. Another report, this time from the BBC, updated 40 minutes ago, says mystery surrounds objects shot down by US military. The United States military is unsure what 3 flying objects it shot out of the skies over North America were and how they were able to stay aloft. President Joe Biden ordered another object, the 4th in total this month, to be downed on Sunday. As it was travelling 20,000 feet, it could have interfered with commercial air traffic even. A military commander said it could be a gaseous type of balloon or some type of propulsion system. He added that he could not rule out that the objects were extraterrestrials. The latest object shot down over Lake Huron in Michigan near the Canadian border has been described by defense officials as an unmanned octagonal structure with strings attached to it. It was downed by a missile fired by an F-16 fighter jet at 14:42 local time. Just a recap on what these unidentified flying objects were. That's the BBC's words, by the way. Unidentified flying objects timeline. 4th of February, US military shoots down suspected surveillance balloon off the coast of South Carolina. It had drifted for days over the United States, and officials said that it came from China and had been monitoring sensitive sites. US downs another object off northern Alaska on the 10th of February, which officials have said lacked any system of propulsion or control. 11th of February, an American fighter jet shoots down a high-altitude airborne object over Canada's Yukon Territory, about 100 miles from the United States border. It was described as cylindrical and smaller than the first balloon. 12th of February, United States jets shoot down a 4th high-altitude object near Lake Huron out of an abundance of caution. So far, it's 11:40 GMT on the 13th of February 2023, and there has been nothing reported today at least. But I believe over in America, you're all just waking up. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen over there? But it is strange, isn't it? It's a bit odd. I mean, chances are that it is, some sort of Chinese surveillance. Hopefully not Russian surveillance. Don't want them getting anywhere, further than what they have got. But who knows? They're saying that, these experts are saying that they can't detect any, or can't see any way of propulsion for these objects to get around, and they are strangely shaped. The octagon ones. Octagon? How does octagon fly? I don't know. I'm no expert in this field at all when it comes to flying. But there's a couple of them. There was one, and there's a few hokey pictures that have come up on Facebook. The one that was shot down over Alaska, I believe it was. And they're saying it looks like the Tic Tacs UFOs that were spotted in 2004 by the, the famous videos, the USS Nimitz flight group and all that. So really, what is it? What are these things that are flying around over the US? And also, why are they just flying over the United States and not anywhere else, as far as we can gather anyway? Is it UFOs? Are they coming in from outer space to, have a look at the USA? Are they coming in from China? Yes, it's probably that they are. Or is it something else? I remember watching a documentary years ago. I think it might have been Dr. Stephen Greer, but, don't quote me on that. But they were saying something like, first it'll be the war, they will use the threat of war to scare the people. Then they will use terrorism and the threat of terrorism to scare the people. Then when that has faded into the distance, the next thing will be aliens and alien attacks. I don't know. What is it? What do you think it is? Get in contact with me. UFOs and OPS is the website. There's a contact form down there. At the bottom of there, you can get straight to me and let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to have a feedback episode where I can read your feedback and, hopefully we'll know a bit more then about what these things are. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, until that time that I speak to you even more later on in next week, take care, look up, and keep in contact.